Welcome, algebra students, to another Regents review video. This is the January 2015 Algebra 1 Common Core Regents examination. These are going to be the solutions to Part 1, which is the multiple choice, problems 1 through 12. Part 1, problems 1 through 12 of the January 2015 exam. Before we begin here, just as usual, do not, under any circumstances, use these answers for purposes that are not really ethical. As in cheating. Do not cheat on this exam when you hand it in for homework or whatever other purposes. If you're here to learn, great, you come to the right place. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit www.nysmathreadersprep.com for more Regents preparation. Without further ado, one more message. I use the TI Inspire CX calculator heavily for the Algebra 1. I highly suggest that you buy it. The link is on my website to Amazon. I don't make any profit off of it, but Amazon does. So if you want to buy that calculator, I highly suggest it. It is quite a powerful tool. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 1, the owner of a small computer repairs business has one employee who is paid an hourly rate of $22. Nice. The owner estimates his weekly profit using the function p of x equals 8,600 minus 22x. In this function, x represents the number of what? Now, you need to understand what's going on here and what this is. This is a profit function, okay? This $8,600 here, that's his revenue. Revenue is how much you bring into the business. This right here, that negative 22x, that is his cost function. So of course he needs to pay the this worker. So it's $22 times x. Well, what does that x do you think represent? That's the hours worked per week. So it's going to be choice 2, because if he works, let's just say 10 hours, this computer owner needs to give him $22 times the 10 hours that he worked, which is $220. So just understand that this is his cost, that's his revenue. So that's going to be choice 2 for question number 1. All right, moving on to number 2. Peyton is a sprinter who could run the 40-yard dash in 4.5 seconds. I don't know how fast that is, but that sounds pretty fast. He converts his speed into miles per hour as shown below. Which ratio is incorrectly written to convert his speed? So if we're looking at all of these conversion factors, we're looking at a possible conversion factor that does not cancel something out. So for example, you see how yards over seconds and then feet over yards, the yards cancel, okay? Then all of a sudden there's feet over yards equals feet over miles. Well, that can't work. Actually, he made a mistake right here, because this is supposed to be 1 mile over 5,280 feet. He's trying to cancel out those feet units to convert to miles because he wants it in miles per hour. He doesn't want it in feet. If he keeps feet up here, then feet will be in the answer, which he doesn't want. So the correct answer is going to be choice 2. Everything else is converted correctly. All right, and that's about it. All right, moving on to number 3. Which equation has the same solutions as 2x squared plus x minus 3 equals 0? So here's the biggest deal with this question. There are many teachers who teach it like me, and there are teachers who don't teach it my way. I do what's called the AC method. Okay, the AC method, which people also call the earmuff method. I call it the earmuff method. So what that does is, and also, one more thing. Some teachers call it tricky trinomials. So any of these 3 terms that you might have heard of in the past, that's what teachers call it. And basically, it's where your first term does not equal the number 1. And what you need to do is you need to take that 2 and you need to multiply it to the negative 3 to make this number, force it to be 1. So what that does is it becomes x squared plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Now from here we just factor it. Well, how do we factor this? Well, what adds to positive 1 and multiplies to give you negative 6? Well, that answer is just going to be x plus 3, x minus 2 equals 0. Now, according to the AC method, that 2 never disappeared. It's just locked in these binomials. So what you have to do is you need to divide everything by 2. Now, whatever you have left over that cannot be simplified properly, you move up front. So, for example, 3/2 can't be simplified into a clean number. So that 2 moves up front. So we get 2x plus 3, and then we get x. Oh, that 2 cancels as well. And negative 2 over 2 is just negative 1 equals 0. So which of the following functions matches this? Well, if we go back to our answer choices, 2x plus 3x minus 1, your answer is going to be choice 4. Now, if you were to actually graph this and then graph this answer, they would also match up. So if you don't like it this way, you could just graph these if you really wanted to and just see if it matches up correctly. That's how you do number 3. All right, moving on to number 4. Krystal was given $3,000 when she turned 2 years old. Her parents invested it at a 2% interest rate compounded annually. No deposits or withdrawals are made. Which expression can be used to determine how much money Krystal had in the account when she turned 18 years old? So you need to know this formula right here. A of t is equal to the principal times 1 plus or minus a rate raised to the t power. Okay, so we definitely know that it's interest. So interest makes the function increase. Okay, so we have a of t. Now the principal amount is how much she invested it in the first place. So in this case, it's $3,000. Times 1 plus the rate, which is 2%. However, we need to express that 2% as a decimal. So it's 0.02 raised to the what power? Well, when she turned 18 years old. But how many years went by? She was given this money when she was 2 years old. So that means it's actually 18 minus 2 years. So A of t is equal to $3,000 times 1.02 raised to the 16th power. That's your equation that you're looking for. And the only one that would work would be choice 1 because of that plus sign in the middle and raised to the 16th power. So number 4 is going to be choice 1. All right, moving on to question 5. Which table of values represents a linear relationship? Now, when you think of linear relationship, you are thinking of constant rate of change. So you are not looking for any exponentials. So if we look at choice 1, to get from negative 3 to negative 2, we add 1. To get from 0 to 1, to get from negative 2 to 1, we added the number 3. And then you keep going, you add 5, and then you add, looks like 7. So this is not linear because it is not equal differences over time. You're adding by 1, 3, 5, 7. It's not a constant rate of change. Go down to 2. This one, it looks like that you're adding a half, maybe. And then it looks like that you're adding by 1. Looks like you're adding by 2. Then it looks like you're adding by 4. Or you could be multiplying by 2 each time. So this is exponential. So that can't be it. Over here, number 3, it looks like we're adding 2, adding 2, adding 2, adding 2. That is linear. And choice 4 is showing plus 1, plus 1, plus 7, and then plus 19. That makes no sense. So choice 3 is the correct answer because choice 3 has the constant rate of change. All right, question 6. Which domain would be the most appropriate set to use for a function that predicts the number of household online devices in terms of the number of people in the household? So it's asking you that predicts the number of household online devices. So, like, for example, your computer is a household online device. So is your television, so is your phone, so is all those things. Those are whole numbers. Choice 2. Integers can be negative. Last time I checked, you cannot have a negative iPhone. Irrational numbers, there are no decimals. So you cannot have a fraction of an iPhone. And rational numbers, you cannot have a fraction or a decimal. You can't have those. So all these things we do not want. So it has to be whole numbers. So for example, you could have no household of anything. You don't have any online household devices. You could have 0, or you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 blah. All those whole numbers. So that would be the best answer for number 6. That is the most appropriate domain for those types of products. All right, moving on to number 7. The inequality 7 minus 2/3 x is less than x minus 8 is equivalent to what? So we're just going to solve it. 7 minus 2/3 x is less than x minus 8. So I'm going to add that 8 on both sides, right? So we get 15 minus 2/3 x is less than x. I am then going to add that 2/3 x on both sides. So we get, looks like 15 is less than, let's see, what is 1 plus 2/3? 1 plus 2/3, that is 5/3. So we get 5/3 x, right? Now I'm going to multiply by 3/5 on both sides. So now I get, let's see, I get 9 is less than x. That's your answer. 9 is less than x. But that also, now that's a little weird way to write it. You are probably used to seeing it as x is greater than 9. So, and that is the answer, choice 1. All right, and that's how you do that inequality. Now, what's nice is that they didn't ask you for any like values or anything like that. So, just basic solving, straight up solving, and you're done. All right, moving on to question 8. The value in dollars, V of x, of a certain car after x years is represented by the equation V of x equals 25,000 times 0.86 to the x. To the nearest dollar, how much more is the car worth after 2 years than after 3 years? So this, just by looking at it, and it's not really important, but just understand that it is exponential decay because most cars do depreciate over time unless you have like a vintage car, then it appreciates. So it's asking you, how much more is the car in the second year than the third year? So what that basically means is that the second year is worth more than the third. Well, of course, because if I have a car in the second year, it's going to be worth more than the third year because I will be driving that for an extra year. So basically what you're going to do is you're just going to take 2 and 3 and then plug it into the function where x is. So v of 2 would equal 25,000 times 0.86 to the second power. That will give you 18,490. Now, V of 3 would be $25,000 times 0.86 to the third power. And that will give you $15,901. And that makes sense because after the third year, you should be lower than the second year. So it's saying how much more? Subtract them. So 18,490 minus 15,901. That will give you $2,589, which is going to be choice 1. Don't fall for the trap for choices 3 or 4. It's saying how much more. That means subtract. Okay? And that's how you do that question. Moving on to question number 9. Which function has the same y-intercept as the graph below? So when they talk about y-intercept, they're talking about where the function crosses the y-axis. This is y equals -3 for the y-intercept. That is your b value, -3. So if we're looking at all of these things, we need to look for a y-intercept of -3. Well, this one's interesting how they did this. So they have a fraction where you need to basically split this up into 2 fractions. If your teacher ever told you I heart algebra, you basically just draw a heart around the denominator and the numerators. And 12 divided by 4 represents your y-intercept. Well, that's +3. That's not -3, so that can't be the answer. This one over here, if you subtract the 27, well, we're off to a good start already. It's negative. But then all of a sudden, if you divide by 3, you get y is, hold on a second. You get y is equal to 2x, 8, 16, 9, 8, minus 9. So that can't be the answer either. This one over here, that one has a y-intercept of, again, it's going to be 3. If you divide by 6, 18 divided by 6 is 3. That's positive. The answer is going to be choice 4. If you subtract the 3 on both sides, there it is. You get y is equal to 6x minus 3. There's your y-intercept. It matches over here. Your answer is choice 4. All right, moving on to question number 10. Okay. Fred is given a rectangular piece of paper. If the length of Fred's piece of paper is represented by 2x minus 6 and the width is represented by 3x minus 5, then the paper has a total area represented by what? So you need to know that it's a rectangle, and the area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. So the area is equal to the length, which is just 2x minus 6, times 3x minus 5. So now I'm going to distribute. So we get, let's see, we get 6. Oops. I don't know why it does that. All right, there we go. We get 6x squared minus 10x minus 18x plus 30 when you just distribute all those out. So then we get 6x squared minus 28x plus 30. Is that answer here? And it is. It is going to be choice 2. All right, moving on to question 11. The graph of a linear equation contains the points 3, 11 and negative 2, 1. Which point also lies on the graph? This one takes a little bit of time to master. First and foremost, how about we do this? If we're given 2 points, can we solve for the equation of a line? Of course we can. If we're given 2 points, we could calculate the slope, and then we could calculate the actual line. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to take these 2 points, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the slope. So we get the change in y over the change in x, which is 1 minus 11 over negative 2 minus 3. That is equal to negative 10 over negative 6, which that is going to be equaling 5 thirds. Did I do change in? Yeah, change in y over the change in x. Yeah. All right, so that is going to be 5 thirds. No, I'm not getting that answer. No, I'm sorry. That should, my apologies, that should be negative 5. Now, there we go. Positive 2. I'm sorry, that didn't look right to me. All right, positive 2, that's your slope. Okay? Now what we need to do is we need to actually plug it into a formula that you may not have learned yet. This formula that I'm about to show you right now, it's really taught in geometry, but it would be so beneficial if you know it now. You know that a line is written as y is equal to mx plus b, right? So what is this thing right here? It's another way to write the equation of a line. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called point-slope form. And what that does is, if you have a point and you have a slope, you could find the equation of a line by just plugging in the point and the slope. Y equals mx plus b, that is called the slope-intercept form of a line. But both of them mean the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my slope into my m, and I'm going to plug in maybe like negative 2, 1 into here. So what I get is I get y minus the 1 value. The 1 value is your y1 is equal to the slope of 2 times x minus a negative 2, which is going to be plus 2. Okay? So now I'm going to distribute that 2. We get y minus 1 is equal to 2x plus 4. Why am I doing this? I want to convert it into a form that you know, which is y equals mx plus b. Now I'm going to add the 1. You get y is equal to 2x plus 5. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the equation of the line that contains these 2 points. So now, if you just graph in your calculator 2x plus 5, and you just do Control T, well, which one matches up? Well, does the point 2, 1 match up? Well, if you go to 2, that's 2, 9. Doesn't match up. Same thing with choice 2. 2, 4? No, it's 2, 9. Go to... All right, well, actually, sorry. 2, 9, I just said it. It's choice 4. Done. All right. That's the answer to number 11. Number 12. How does the graph of f of x equals 3 times x minus 2 squared plus 1 compare to the graph of g of x equals x squared? So you have to know that, let's see, f of x equals 3 times x minus 2 squared plus 1. That negative 2 is a horizontal shift to the right by 2 units. And then this 1, that's going to be a vertical shift up by 1 unit. And that 3 makes the graph narrow. So we're looking for something on the lines of these. The graph of f of x is wider. No. The graph of f of x is narrower. Yes. Than the graph of g of x. And its vertex is moved to the right by 2 units and 1 unit up. That's the answer. Choice 3. The only problem with this one is that they said move to the left by 2 units. And that's a common mistake that people make because the horizontal shift is opposite the sign. So if it's negative 2, you would think it's going to the left, but it's actually going to the right by 2 units. So therefore, it's going to be choice 2. Now, if you didn't like that way, just by knowing your transformation rules, you could have just graphed these. You could have just went to your graphic calculator and say, okay, 3 times x minus 2 squared plus 1, and then you could have graphed x squared and see what happened. And as you can see, 2 to the right, 1 unit up, and it gets narrower. Pretty simple. All right, that is the conclusion of this video. I hope this helped. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure that you visit www.nysmathreadersprep.com for more Regents preparation in Algebra 1 and future math subjects. And I hope to see you soon.